The tainted relationships. I've been married since I was 22. My wife and I have a lot of baggage. She had an affair when she was 22 and we separated for 2 years. I forgave her, but the resentment still remains. She has resentment towards me too. She got pregnant at 19. We were young, lots of stress. She lost her job at 26 and decided she was going back to school, and this was right after we bought a house. So the financial responsibility all became mine. More resentment from me, and more resentment from her because I wasn't thrilled losing 60 Kelvin a year for her to get a degree, and me having to handle all the finances without even a discussion about it. Lots of fights. I drank heavy to self-medicate depression and anxiety and put on weight. She resented my self-loathing. I resented her for the drop in bonding. But all through it we still loved each other and were very affectionate. Today we've both changed a lot. I'm an executive manager, went back to business school for my graduate degree. I lost a lot of weight and look good. I take meds for genetic depression and anxiety issues. I also started therapy. She also has a graduate degree and her career is going well. She needs therapy but won't commit to it. She doesn't communicate with me. The marriage seems so difficult. Bonding is routine. Shouldn't it be getting easier? It seems we each take everything the other says the wrong way and with malice. I tend to think she is gaslighting me and does passive-aggressive crap, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I still love my wife, we cuddle, hold hands, and in the past the idea of losing the marriage terrified me. It's why I put up with a lot of BS. But now it doesn't really scare me much, and the idea of a new relationship gives me more hope than fixing this marriage. I think we both feel exhausted and burned out at this point. It's tough finding any comfort or joy in this marriage. If I still love her now, I don't think that will ever happen. We've each been pretty messed up to the other. I guess if she did something crazy like tried to get me to not be able to see my kids, but I know she would never do that. But in all our ups and downs, when I pull her into me and kiss her it just feels right. But the marriage itself is tough, real tough, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think life could be as tough as it is right now for me. Opening up, we've done that. I've learned she resents me for not supporting her through school. I did pay all the bills and took care of the household several nights a week. But I was definitely stressed by having all that responsibility on me. I'm sure I wasn't the biggest cheerleader. She has resentment from the fighting. We yelled a lot, especially when younger. She gave as good as she got and she doesn't deny that she has hit me in the past when she was really young. But I don't have any resentment about that. It didn't hurt me, but she feels guilty about it. But anytime we fight, all this resentment from the past shoots up to the present and doesn't ever seem to be stopping. Even from stupid little fights that have nothing to do with the stuff that comes out. We've both talked about maybe there's too much baggage in our history and the best we can hope for is to take lessons learned into our next relationship and treat that person better. I'm not religious and don't care from any moral perspective. What consenting adults want to do is their business. But I'm definitely a one-woman guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Love and connection to one person and vice versa is critical for my happiness in a relationship. I couldn't be happy with someone's love and affection diverted to someone else. As for an open relationship, I find the idea intriguing, but ultimately, I don't feel my wife or I could ever keep emotions out of it. One or both of us would fall in love with the third party, so that's out. That's not to say if we're in some sunny foreign beach by ourselves and a threesome opportunity falls in our lap that I would immediately shoot it down. We could just leave it all there when we fly away and do nothing but enjoy the memories. But again, this is unlikely. It would have to be the perfect storm of our relationship being great, right person, right time, and just the right amount of booze. Probably very unlikely it would happen. We couldn't be more different. She's extroverted, I'm introverted. She's a hot mess in the terms of organization and I'm very organized. She's a spendthrift, I'm a saver. She's lower drive and vanilla in terms of bonding, and I'm high drive and much more adventurous. She likes material things, I like experiences. We both married young and jumped into adult life likely way before we were ready, fought too much, resentment on both sides. We have a good life together, nice house, 3 kids, good jobs. It's a lot to give up and start over. I'll be living in a shoebox once alimony and child support are settled, coupled with the debt to pay off. I would probably be an old man before I could recover and actually enjoy life again. I think that's what's keeping me in the marriage. The alternative is destitution and working a stressful job but seeing no real benefit from my labor. I'll be working to support her new life, in our house, likely with some new fella leeching off me. Doesn't sound awesome. I did meet with a lawyer for a consultation. I would owe 43% of my take-home pay in child support. I may owe maintenance due to the discrepancy in salaries and length she's been working, and she would likely get the house that has nearly $300,000 in equity in it. It would be a devastating financial hit. At 40 it would probably be 55 or so until I could recover from it and get the debts paid, and at that point I feel it's too late to start over. The finances are definitely a huge concern for me. I don't want to be old and destitute. I'm not at all afraid to be on my own. I'm introverted and always loved alone time. Even when younger I could take weeks off from friends just to do my own thing. I could never have a relationship again and it wouldn't bother me too much. I think I would want one, but if it didn't happen, I would be okay with that too. I thought I would at least get to sell the house and split the equity, but the lawyer says because I make 4 times more than her, it's unlikely the judge would uproot the kids and she would get the marital home. I looked at the NY state guidelines and the 43% of my take-home looks right on the money with 3 kids, no real guesswork there. He said maintenance is likely since she's only been working 3 years and I make 4 times more, so in theory I could be giving her $300,000 in home equity and over 60% of my take-home pay each month. I have no retirement savings, she has a pension and I was going to start putting money away after paying off the house. I'll live, I actually don't require much, but if I'm basically broke, I wouldn't want to work an executive management job that's taking years off my life due to stress just to keep my ex in 60,000 cars and Gucci purses. I would like to do something I enjoyed even if I make less. I don't know, I have a lot to think about. An example of my wife's gaslighting. She spent a good 12 months hanging out with several divorced women. 2 were the main culprits, drinking to excess, going to bars, leaving me with the kids. I would come home from work in the summer, she has summers off, and every day they were there, typically very drunk and loud, house a mess, etc. Now if I talk about how I view that period of time as an abandonment of our marriage, and it leads to reasons why I don't have a good comfort level in the marriage. She says, oh come on, they were over here once or twice, I went out to bars with them maybe 1-2 times a month. I stopped doing it because you had such a problem, which isn't true, she stopped doing it because they turned on her. Now I know it's BS I lived that time period soberly, but she'll insist on her version being correct and that I'm crazy and won't even acknowledge why I'm bothered by her actions because she gaslights me. She instead insists I'm controlling and won't allow her friendships, when really, she was getting inebriated almost daily and acting like a 21-year-old on spring break. No spouse would be okay with that behavior. I worry she may be BPD or a narcissist. As I hit late 30s and 40s, I'm starting to realize how nasty my wife can be and I'm exhausted by it. Last night I come home at 6 p.m. from work, she's with my daughter at soccer practice. I do the dishes, straighten up the house. She comes in and immediately starts in because one of her shows didn't record and I must have canceled it, yelling, rude. Then she leaves to pick up a pizza. I offered to get it but instead of accepting my offer, being a passive-aggressive martyr is a better solution. She sees there's no wine and starts yelling when all she has to do is ask if I'll grab some while she changes. This morning my daughter is taking too long to get out the door making her lunch. Instead of my wife just saying let's go, buy lunch today, she throws her book bag out of the door screaming her head off. It's like this every single day. In the summer I spend a lot of my time on the property. In the fall and winter I basically do all the house cleaning. This past weekend I cleaned the house top to bottom while she took yoga training all weekend for 8 hours each day. I don't know what she expects at this point, but I'm pulling 80% of the weight financially and chores wise, and she's just mean, and if she has to do anything and I'm sitting she's unbearable to be around. I do have a backbone. We've been fighting and making up for 16 years. I've just decided it's not worth the arguments and pushing back anymore because her actions aren't rational or reasonable. No point in pushing back against crazy. I'm going to live my life calmly and positively, not engage in her BS every day. Now I just ignore it. She'll end up apologizing. But there comes a point where if you were really sorry for the behavior you would stop doing it, or at least make an effort to stop doing it. I do the laundry, cleaning, etc. because I like a nice clean house and laundry in its place. I redid my kitchen because I have the skills and saved 25 Kelvin. I don't ask anything of her. I don't care if I do more heavy lifting. I have a high capacity for work. It's the nasty attitude that's got me at my wit's end at this point. I am working on myself. I'm in individual counseling. I started recently with a new therapist that I like a lot. I think she's nailing my issues and giving me actual things to do to try and fix them. I already run religiously, starting yoga and meditation, cutting back on drinking, etc. I've tried to diagnose my wife. She's really a tough read. I've tried to get her to go to therapy. She goes to 1 or 2 sessions and never goes back. At the end of the day, I can't make her do it. She was really apologetic to everyone about her behavior, especially my daughter. I didn't escalate things, just let them die down. Things seemed fine. We go to bed and right as I fall asleep, I get hit with if you go to yoga at that studio by your office, it will have very bad repercussions for our marriage, your decision. Then she flips out because my therapist is a woman. Like 95% of therapists are women. I didn't look her up. I tried to get a male therapist. He had a 3-month waiting list. The other 2 therapists didn't take my insurance and recommended the one I see now. I wasn't seeking out young women to go to therapy with. They're literally all women. This was all out of nowhere. She storms out, slams the door and sleeps on the couch. She ignores me this morning, only says I'm not a nice person, just pretend to be and I really don't care and I'm a liar. What possible problem could she have with me taking 1 yoga class a week on my lunch hour by my work and going to therapy? I didn't yell or lose my cool. I just told her that I'm going. It's not a big deal. It's for my mental health. Help me relax and I want to do something besides running. And if she can give me one logical, coherent argument why she has a problem with it, I'll consider what she's saying. I also said she needs to stop the screaming and drama. I'm exhausted by it and can't live with it anymore and left for work. I do love her, but aside from my financial ties, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not despondent over the thought of losing her or being alone. Maybe it's midlife. I recently turned 40, I don't know. She doesn't want me to take yoga at a different studio. She wants me to go with her to her studio only. I only want to go to this different one because I can swing in on an extended lunch hour. It's right by my office. She admitted she's jealous and worried I'm going to leave her apparently. Since she has a history of behaving inappropriately with men during our marriage, she's projecting. Or she's guilty over how she's currently behaving and projecting. I've never cheated or had any inappropriate relationships with women. I have some female friends she knows about, and none of them pose any threat to her, so she's okay with it. The only reason this would bother her so much is if she's projecting. 2 months later, things have progressed rather quickly that I wasn't expecting, and I told my wife I want a separation and move towards ending the marriage. I have 2 mortgages already, long story, and can't afford to move out until one or both properties are sold. I want to move into my own room until things are fully worked out and I can leave. My wife says, I don't want a divorce or a separation and I'm not separating from you. She basically acts like separation was never discussed and continues on as normal. For any Seinfeld fans out there, it's like the episode where George tries to break up with a woman and she says no, and George reluctantly continues to date her. It's like that, really bizarre. I keep telling her that it's been nearly 20 years and the constant fighting, passive aggressiveness, silent treatment, refusing to communicate in any productive way, go to counseling, read a book, or try anything to improve the situation has taken its toll, and I just don't have that love for her anymore. I'm done. She doesn't give a crap. She says if I move into another room she'll just sleep in that room. We don't sleep together, speak much, or really do anything together, but she just claims we're married and she's not separating. I just don't know how to handle this, wasn't expecting it. She knows I can't go anywhere until our primary home is sold. She also knows that she can make that sale very complicated if not impossible. How do you separate from someone you're forced to live with and they refuse to separate and just act like everything's normal? I never asked her to leave the house at all. I also stated that leaving is not an option because it looks bad for the man and a judge more likely to award the wife full custody and the marital home. I reply again with I won't move out until a custody and divorce settlement is done. Eventually I want to sell both properties to pay off our mutual debt. And to that you say, I am sure there are options for you to move out for a time. My comment, I may have missed, but are you talking to a lawyer already? You might want to get professional advice. I could see this in-house situation going very badly depending on her mental state. I know you're concerned about losing the house if you leave, but what happens if she becomes unhinged and says you're ex her or something? She's not behaving rationally right now. It's hard to predict how she will react when she finally realizes it's over. Story 2. Crying till my eye wells have gone dry, prayed till my knees are worn, and hoped till my heart can't bear much more. I have been married before and have 2 kids from previous marriage. I have full custody of the children. After a very brief courtship, I married my now estranged wife. She really was unlike any other woman I had known. I wrote in my journal that this truly was the happiest moment of my life. She was great. She became pregnant about 2 months into the marriage and we were all very excited. She's 31 and I'm 32. Then things started to change. She became more negative and just plain cranky. She also became more emotional. In hindsight, I really should have done a better job being emotionally present for her. I worked hard so that she could be the full-time mom she said she wanted to be. Again, I think we both underestimated the pressures this new environment would place on her. I should not have placed so much on her table so soon. Anyways, about 2 months ago, she had to travel to get her immigration stuff sorted out in USA. We live in the UK. 2 weeks into her stay in the US, she tells me she is done with the marriage. She will not be coming back and will be seeking a divorce, that I lied to her about who I was. I had mistreated and neglected her needs. Amazingly, she also accused me of carrying out inappropriate communication with other women and physically forcing myself on her. These last 2 literally broke me to pieces. They were simply not true. Heaven, and I know I could have been a better partner. I could have been more affectionate and patient. I also know we had great times. She's written emails thanking me for being supportive and strong, for being a good dad and working hard to provide for our family. I begged and begged. I admitted to everything I was charged with, whether true or not. I cried and begged some more, asking if we could go to counseling. She said it was too late as she had earlier sought for this and I refused. I was not to contact any of her family or friends. I had earlier reached out to her dad and her good girlfriend. Doing the former was totally pointless and the latter resulted in me being accused of flirting with her girlfriend. None of them have since reached out to help. A solid wall of protection has been built around her and I have heard nothing. Communication is limited to emails only now. She will not communicate with anyone from my side who came to love her so much. Even the kids miss her so much, but she's turned down requests to talk with them. She has since not filed for divorce nor talked about it since first raised by her 2 months ago. Just a few days ago she emailed saying she is begging me to give her time and space. I am not sure what to read into this. I love and miss this girl so much. I also want us to raise our unborn daughter together, but I feel entirely hopeless now. Though challenging, I certainly expected that it would take longer than 6 months for us to blend our lives together. Surely, we could have given this more time. I just don't get this. How do you fall out of love with someone so quickly? And finally, my questions are as follows. 1. How much of this turnaround could be down to hormones during pregnancy? 2. If she wanted to get divorced, wouldn't she have done so by now? 3. What are your thoughts about she needing time and space? I am Black British and she is white American. We have both previously been in interracial relationships before. She has also been with a black guy with kids, so no real shock there for her, I think. The women in emails were women I met online while we were single. 3 contacted me a month into our marriage. Every single one was told politely that I am now happily married. 1 even invited me to hook up with her during a business trip to England, to which I refused. I have flaws, but having affairs is simply not one of them. The other person she thought I was having an affair with was a guy. She thought I was meeting a woman who was doing some work for my business. An unplanned meeting arose, which meant I'd be late home for dinner. I told her about this once I knew of it. It never dawned on me that she was thinking all along that I was doing something like having an affair. I certainly doubt that she married me for money, but I've had a few people make that suggestion. Sadly, I am too gullible or naive to believe such a thing could happen. I really don't think that's what's happening here. She has had a very difficult life. Serious issues with family dysfunctionality. Her parents came out a few months ago that they were getting divorced. She is a wonderful girl that has had to raise herself amidst such chaos. She has also been in bad relationships before, i.e., guys cheating on her, abusing her, and until a few years ago was effectively an alcoholic addicted to painkillers. She is very emotional, something I am not. I am a go-up-get-done type of guy and nothing gets me down. These said, I do not wish to suggest she is a bad person. She is a great girl who has had her share of difficulties in life, and I am yet to find a woman in her late 20s and 30s who does not have a baggage. We all do. I just figured these were all dealt with. We only dated for about 4 months. She says she did try to work things out before she left. This is very subjective, of course. Right now, it is all bad this and bad that. She could not even think of something good about our marriage when I asked her a few months ago. I have email records from a few weeks before she left that indicates otherwise. I even asked her some months back if she regretted marrying me. After we had a row, she flatly said no and was not walking away from this marriage. All these accusations have only just come up since she arrived in America. The truth is that she ticked all the boxes. Everything felt and seemed right. The timing of everything could not have been better in terms of where we both were in our lives. We are of the same faith, shared the same values about family and children. We even met with a church leader during her visit to the UK before we got married. He spent good time advising us and also informing her of what life was like with me having 2 kids full-time and with my work. I really do not believe that duration of courtship or distance was key here. We are both adults who made a decision. I cannot fathom this jumping ship at the earliest sight of difficulty. Does anyone have views or suggestions on her request for time and space? In emails, she still refers to herself as my wife and has never objected to me doing the same when I communicate with her. So, I feel there are mixed messages coming through, or may well be simply clutching at straws and deluding myself. Man, I am in such a mess. Why would people do this, especially given we had several discussions about marriage and divorce before we got married? I have questions which simply plague my mind. This is just beyond my comprehension that someone can just simply walk away from a marriage with kids involved and another on the way in this fashion. I will love to start all over again, as I am not afraid to put in the work. Marriage means more to me than just a piece of paper. I am a big believer in putting in the effort to work things out. Sometimes, a greater degree of patience and time is needed on the side of one party while the other works out her issues. From what I've seen around me, those who manage to stay loyal during the tough times and continue to show love when nothing is coming back seem to make for a stronger marriage when they do pull through. I suppose this will only work provided the unhappy partner doesn't jump ship before you can say boo. Knowing what I've been through, I will work my darndest to do my part. As per legal option, I am covered but would rather stay far away from another divorce case if I can help it. As per emails, I was able to check these for about 2 weeks after she left, and I went through everything. Emails going back years, text messages backed up, and instant messages. There was nothing to raise an eyebrow at. If anything, there were emails with friends just a few months before leaving where she told them that married life was difficult but she loved me and was happy to have a supportive husband. She also commented on how beautiful England was and how glad she was to be away from the drama at home. These just make me even more confused. Just a few months ago she was happy, despite our difficulties communicating. All of a sudden there's nothing good enough in our marriage and I am a controlling ex. Had she been lying to my face as to how she loved me and was committed to our marriage despite our issues, I could understand why, but she surely wouldn't be making up stories about how she was grateful to be here in emails with her closest friends. Update: very difficult day yesterday, missing her and trying to hold things together at home with kids. It's very hard. I am keeping communication to the barest minimum of about a 3-minute 4-sentence email asking how she is doing, her health and the pregnancy also. I tell her I am thinking of and praying for both her and baby on the way. That's all. I keep communication to about 1-minute 2 emails a week. Pitiful, but that's the reality for about a week now. I got an email reply yesterday which was rather soothing. It was an update on ultrasound scans, slight complication with the pregnancy and how she is doing. She even included a smiley, pathetic that I'd even noticed this, but hey, it just seemed friendly, though not loving. Her email was longer than mine, not aggressive nor negative in any way. It warmed my heart, but I soon went cold knowing I could end up with a child I don't get to see. She knows how much I love being a dad and cherish kids. Irony is that this was something she said she loved about me. I also just felt rather cynical as the cynicism came flooding in because we are not addressing the issues of our marriage nor our future together. While it made my day hearing from her, and I told her this in my reply, I just don't know what to read into the email. Either way, I've chosen not to read much great news into it. She has not touched alcohol since nor the painkillers. In fact, she's so clean that she will not even take ordinary medicine. Before she left, we had to source natural remedies, medicines, and supplements. She's staying with her brother and sister-in-law. This same sister-in-law was one I sent a message soon after my wife left asking for her help, knowing my wife would have told her a story. After ignoring me, she eventually replied saying she cannot help me and that my wife had made up her mind. This was just 2 weeks after she left. As per her brother and sister-in-law, bad news. They're only interested in supporting her in her decision. The brother wouldn't talk to me, was not happy about me marrying his sister in the first place, then moving 6,000 miles away. He has failed to respond to my communication. At least his wife had the courtesy to reply to an instant message plea of mine by simply saying she couldn't help as my wife had made up her mind. I have not heard a fart from them since then. An impenetrable wall of silence or defense has been built around her. She too has warned me against contacting any of her family or friends. Doing so was evidence of me violating her boundaries, being controlling and disrespectful of her wishes. The only contact she would allow now is by email. Her phone number no longer works or she changed it and I was not given it. I traveled to the US, even though she initially told me she did not want to see me. 6,000 miles and nearly 15 hours I traveled. She stuck to her ways and refused to see me or talk on the telephone. I stayed in a motel. She refused to pick me up from the airport also. This is probably the most painful thing thus far, but I overlooked it as I have many friends in the US who kindly accommodated me throughout my 4-day trip. I enjoyed the holiday quite frankly and took full advantage of the strength of the PS over the dollar sign by buying a whole luggage full of clothes for the kids. Heaven knows I love America for the stupidly low cost of living. Heaven also knows I have licked my backside in letting this gal know how sorry I am and how willing I am to do what it takes to fix my part of this marriage. Eventually, she will have to talk with me about what she wants to do. If she wants a divorce, I have no choice, but we all must bear the short and long-term consequences of our actions. Karma is real. Update: I woke up this morning, as one does, feeling down as usual. However, almost as a miracle, the words of Red in the movie Shawshank Redemption sunk deep into my consciousness. You may remember the scene where he says, "Get busy living," or "Get busy passing." I chose the former. I have way too many things going great for me in my life. I have the most amazing kids any parent could ask for. I have zero financial worries. I am in perfect health and great shape, could easily be mistaken for a running back. Actually, I often get asked while visiting the USA what football team do I play for. I initially get confused because football in England is soccer in America, plus I don't do soccer. I have very few things that stress me out in life. So, with these blessings flooding my mind this morning, I decided to totally let go of the things I cannot control. I got on my knees and told God that I am letting go of any guilt, shame or doubt in myself. No more tears, no more begging. I leave him to figure things out with my wife until she wants to talk with me. I went downstairs, did some work, the laundry before packing my gym bag. I called my buddy to come play golf and that was it. Unbelievable. Update: so, I finally plucked up the courage to ask my wife the questions I was afraid to ask. Boy, did some of her answers hurt. Effectively, everything she pretty much had to say about me as a dad, something she once loved about me, or the several messages, texts and spoken while we were together about how much she loved me, life in England, and how supportive I was to her were thoroughly rubbished. There seemed to have been one reason or the other why much of what she said that were great about our marriage, while we lived together in the UK, were now very different to what she recalls of the same marriage now she is back in America. Quite frankly, if you were to read our emails, texts from say 2 to 7 months ago and then speak with her today, you would think she was talking about a different marriage. Yes, there certainly were problems as in all marriages, but no one, not even the children, our friends, me nor anyone over here thought things were as bad as are being made out. Surely, a stormy relationship would somewhat be reflected, at least in part, in some of these correspondences, right? Am I wrong in thinking this way? The things she said in response to my questions were very hurtful indeed, and I sometimes wished I never asked. However, I just now know that this whole is plain bizarre in light of the emails she even sent to her friends a few months ago saying how happy she is over here. This is just nutting right. I then pressed her on the question of if she was filing for a divorce, when her reply was she hadn't thought that far ahead but was only thinking of the baby and her health right now, though she remains sure of not moving ahead with the marriage. I couldn't understand this avoidance despite asking if she still plans to file for a divorce at any time in the future. Ironically, she has never used the D word again since she first raised it a few months ago. I am very familiar with UK law and lawyers. Heck, I even know the judges of my local. I did my divorce with ex all by myself, including child custody and financial arrangements. I have spoken with a US attorney also. I am safe financially due to the following. 1. Cross-border jurisdictions will make it nigh impossible or difficult and expensive to get money out of me. She will have to fork out a bit of wonga to prosecute the case in return for very little. 2. The state in which we got married will only award alimony for the same amount of time of marriage, like in this case 7 months or so. In any case, and given the fact that she had little or no money coming into the marriage and that it only lasted a few months, it would be very difficult, according to him, to see how a court would award any alimony at all. 3. Since I have kids of which I have full custody, they're with me 6 days a week, this will reduce the amount I may have to pay for child support. My calculations based on state justice department suggest I'll only be paying about $150 to $200 a month. I am more than happy to look after my own, so long as it is mine, of course. I will not be a wasteman dad. 4. Lastly, I could choose to file first and play to my advantage because I set the pace and have more control. However, I am not interested at present in doing so. If she wants to, then she has the green light. I can assure you guys, I am no fool. I also believe in karma. I have done everything in good faith. I am a pretty ambitious guy. Heaven knows I have calmed down a lot as I've gotten older. Kids and full-time parenting also reminds you of your own humanity also. I have a pretty great life with high-profile jobs and a good income. I am rather highly educated and I dare say my brain cells are in pretty good shape, so here is my question. My currently estranged wife tells me I controlled and abused her. I honestly do not know how I do this. The examples she has given of me doing so are, in my view, instances where we both disagreed on how something should be done. If she does not get her way, I am controlling. The idea that we can just simply disagree and still be happy together is just foreign. 1. Do you think that this idea of control is used far too loosely, and without the victim really fully understanding what they're talking about? 2. Might it just be an indication of the person's own internal insecurities or something else? 3. Do you think that therapists sometimes are way too quick to place a label on a behaviors, which just makes it easier for the client to walk away saying, that's what it is? A most recent one that I can recall is me canceling the Amex card she uses while she was in the US. There was no discussion whatsoever before she left that she would not be coming back to the UK. When we got married, I added her to my gold card. This has no spending limit. It works great for air miles and we use it just for family grocery shopping. Put it this way, in the first 2 weeks of her arriving in the US, I will say she spent over $5,000. This is more than 4 times what she was earning before we were married. I raised the expenditures with her, but it did not stop. In my eyes, she walked out of the family home where we had everything she was now buying in the US. There are kids here and our overheads are here. Eventually, I had no choice but to cancel her card and another credit card she had. All these have been paid off now and I'm still solvent, but the tap is turned off. Next thing I knew was that she started telling me that I was using money to control her and she would show me she can survive financially without me. Thus far, she has been struggling. I just will not finance her lifestyle. However, how the hell do I end up being labeled as a controlling partner? When she was here, she had passwords to all my email accounts, online banking. I never ever queried what she spent money on. I had absolutely no knowledge of her passwords. Does this sound like a controlling husband? My thoughts are that when people don't get what they want, you become some name pulled out of a counseling textbook. Sad thing is that when this label is pulled out by a trusted therapist, it ends up defining you in the eyes of the client. My comment: the idea is this: you file for divorce. You have been abandoned by your wife while she is pregnant. A UK divorce might be quite lenient on you with regard to required payments, if any. And while in the UK she never filed a complaint against you and so will have a hard time showing that you forced her to do anything. Further, she will have a difficult time proving paternity. For a DNA test you'd have to provide DNA, and doing that in a way that a court can know that the DNA has not been tampered with will not be simple. And I'm afraid that at least for now you have to harden your heart with regard to financial aid for her. If there are medical bills, you can offer to pay part on receipt of an itemized bill directly from the medical provider. That becomes the barrier you have to overcome forevermore.